I can explain.
Everyone and their mothers are dogpiling onto Mario Strikers Battle League. It's easy to see why, as there are only 10 playable characters, there are only 5 different stages, and they all feel similar. There are only a few items, and they are now tamer, and the Road to Striker Cup has been neutered significantly. I'll go a bit against the grain here and say, I don't think it's that bad of a game, but it could have been so much more. I should also mention that I'm not paying for Nintendo Switch Online membership at the moment because I hate that service with a passion. This review will just tackle the offline game modes, and there are not too many. Let's actually start a bit positive here. I love how the game controls and feels. There are some changes from Striker's charge and some of them land. I like the idea of charged tackles. If the defender holds down the tackle button, an arrow will appear underneath them. If they let this arrow fill up, they will thrust forward. If they miss this hit, they will be stunned for a second or two. I like this, as it makes bigger tackles a bit riskier. If someone throws these out willy-nilly, they will put their characters out of position. If they connect with a hit, they will leave the opposing character stunned for a bit, and they will get possession of the ball. Think of these as souped-up slide tackles from charged. Another problem with throwing out tackles is the fact that characters can now dodge. If the opponent dodges right before the defender hits them, they'll gain a boost of speed because they performed a perfect dodge. Speaking of perfect dodges, there are also perfect passes and shots. Timing is everything in Battle League, which can be hard as the game is frantic. Another neat mechanic involves tackling your teammates. One can tackle their own teammate to give them momentum, which can be used to either attack your opponent or advance them up the field. It's very hard to use effectively, but it can be a game changer when used well. The best change in my opinion is the fact that Mega Strikes are gone. I love Striker's Charge with all my heart, but this one feature was just a miss in my opinion. They are replaced with Hyper Strikes. To activate one, the player must obtain a Strike Orb, which will fall from the sky every so often. I like this already. In Striker's Charge, a Mega Strike can be used at any time, making them pretty overpowered. Limiting Hyper Strikes to just an item makes them appear less often. After obtaining the Strike Orb, the user has to get one of their characters all alone to charge the ball fully. After that, a bar will appear that contains 3 colors, gray, orange, and teal. To make the Hyper Strike go in automatically, the user will need to time their A button presses to get teal and teal. If the user can only get in the orange or gray sections, then Boom Boom can stop it. The character's technique ability will determine how large the teal and orange sections are. After the user times their button presses, an animation will play of the character using it. If the user can put it in the net, they will score 2 points. Another cool thing about Hyper Strikes is the fact that they are different from a gameplay perspective. While I like the aesthetic changes in Striker's Charge, all Mega Strikes were virtually the same thing. Here though, some are simply just better than others. Waluigi will have vines that trap opponents. Yoshi turns the ball into an egg that will jump around and crush opponents. Wario's will act like a ping pong ball, bouncing off the sides of the field. Most of these will involve harming players that get too close, but some nuances make each of the Hyper Strikes just a bit different. The last positive thing that I want to go over are the character stats and armor. There are 5 stats and they are: Strength. This attribute determines the power of a character's tackle or the resistance to being tackled. Speed. This attribute determines a character's running speed. Shooting. This attribute determines the power of a shot and its speed. Passing. This attribute determines the speed of a pass, as well as the range of a free pass. Technique. This attribute determines a character's shot accuracy and curve, and it affects how a character dribbles the ball. It also affects the meter for the Hyper Strike and the timing of perfect moves, making both easier to execute if the attribute is high. These descriptions are ripped right from the game's help menu. Watching a lightweight character try to hit a strong character and watch the hitter receive more recoil is pretty funny. It's funny to watch a fast character just blaze right through the field. These stats can be customized further with the armor feature. Armor will increase a character's stat at the cost of another stat. My brother and I had a lot of fun maxing out Peach's speed at the expense of every other stat, or making Bowser so fast that he can get the ball and score at half court with his amazing shooting skill as well. Okay, fine, I lied. I have one more positive I want to get to, and those are the animations. Next level games didn't disappoint in this department. I personally like the more gritty nature of Striker's Charge, but I can't deny that there are some bangers in here. Yoshi eating Yoshi's story fruit when he wins a match is incredible, or how about DK swinging on vines or busting a move when he scores? Wario running through a field of money always gives my brother and I to laugh. Peach trying her best to not lose her cool is also funny, as is Waluigi's swagger by throwing the rose up in the air and catching it in his mouth. There are boatloads of YouTube uploads of these animations because they are resonating with people and they are so good. Unfortunately, this is where we start digging into the negative things about Battle League. The first and most important thing to talk about is a lack of content. Why in the ever-loving name of shit does this only have 10 characters? Striker's Charge had 12 captains as well as 8 sidekicks. Captains came equipped with their own unique deeks, tackles, musical tracks, special captain ability items, and stats. Here, the only things that make characters stand out are their stats and Hyper Strikes. Sidekicks also came equipped with their own stats, deeks, tackles, musical tracks, and skill shots. Stats are indeed customizable in this game with the armor, but I prefer the uniqueness of the characters before. The fact that there are only 5 stages is ridiculous. Striker's Charge had 17, with about 7 of them having gimmicks. I get that some don't want gimmicky stages and want the game to be all about skill. That's why there should be both gimmicky stages for those who prefer them, and the no-nonsense stages for the hardcore crowd. Other games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate did this perfectly. There are plenty of stages that are batshit insane where anything can happen, but the game has a strong competitive scene because of stages like Final Destination and Battlefield. The different aesthetics are cool, and the fact that both halves of the stage can be different is neat, but that doesn't make up for all the stages playing the exact same. You can also upgrade the aesthetic of a stage apparently, but that's locked to playing online, so I can't do that unless if I pay, which I'm not going to because it doesn't even introduce hazards or anything. Items are... I said neutered earlier, so I guess I'll have to go with Spade here. There are only 6 items. Mario Strikers Charge had 9 base items, with some of them, such as the shells of bananas, having multiple variants, on top of having 12 captain specials. The items here are the red shell, green shell, banana peel, mushroom, bomb, and invincibility star. There is no point in covering these because they all do what you expect them to do. I like how Charge had some unique ones in there, like the spiny shell, the frozen shell, the chain chomp, and how even the basic items had different sizes and quantities. Obtaining an item is somewhat different in this game. No more will an item be awarded if a character shoots a charge shot. The only way to get an item is the opponent hits one of their enemies if they don't have the ball. The item won't be automatically awarded like in previous games either, but instead, the crowd will throw an item block of that team's color onto the field. This means that you have to go out of your way to pick up items. Rainbow colored blocks can be used by either team. Exciting plays and dangerous tackles make these appear more often. I personally prefer the Striker's Charge method of just giving the player the items automatically, but I can see people making a case that this is better. For some, this may be considered a nitpick, but where the hell is Critter? I love that dude and he fit the gritty natures of Striker's Charge so well. I've seen people online say that they thought that he was out of place, and I could not disagree more. Boom Boom for one is terrible. The number of shots he lets in, like come from half field, is just insane. It may sound more exciting as more goals are happening, but it actually slows down the game because every time someone scores, you gotta wait a bit before the game gets going again. He also seems generic. Something as simple as replacing Critter with him just makes the game lose personality to me. We've seen Boom Boom so many times in modern Mario games, and it just feels like they're losing character. You also can't turn into Boom Boom when he has the ball, which is a bizarre step backwards. Long story short, screw Boom Boom. While the road to the Striker Cup doesn't return, we still have the Cup battles. There are 6 cups total, with 5 of them focusing on one attribute. For example, the Muscle Cup has characters wearing armor sets that increase their strength. If a team loses the initial match, they are sent to the loser's bracket, where they have a chance to compete in the last match of the tournament, but losing again will cause them to be eliminated. The reward for beating one of the 5 cups for the first time in normal mode is 400 coins. Meanwhile, later victories will net the player only 50 coins. After beating the first 5 cups, the Championship Cup will be unlocked, which will have well-rounded teams. After beating this the first time, the player will earn 400 coins, as well as 500 coins for beating normal mode, and the credits will roll. Since it took my brother and I only about 3 hours, we were pretty disappointed. We thought that we just blew through this game's content in no time flat. Luckily, Galactic Mode gets unlocked, which will have the same cups at a higher difficulty. Beating Normal Mode will also unlock the Bushido Armor Set, which will raise one stat by 4 while lowering all the other ones by 1.
Galactic Mode is no joke. The AI are competent this time around and will consistently punish the player if they make mistakes. My brother and I cruised right through Normal Mode, but we lost a couple of matches on Galactic Mode. Speaking of losing matches, the player can pay 100 coins to commence a rematch before they get knocked out. The number of coins will increase with each successive use, but we only needed to do it once. The reward for beating a cup is 1,000 coins for the first time, and 100 coins for each subsequent victory. Beating the Championship Cup will net the player 1,000 coins, and an additional 1,000 coins for beating Galactic Mode. It took my brother and I about 3.5 hours for Galactic Mode, so about 6.5 hours total for the cups. Strikers 101 has been retooled. Many tutorials in this game go over hitting, dodging, passing, shooting, how to use items, perfect actions, hyper strikes. This isn't my first stop. It took me around 45 minutes to complete all of them. There's also a practice match that will net the player 800 coins if they win. My final playtime was around 7 hours, and honestly, I don't feel that compelled to go back to the game. I'll play a match in handheld mode here and there, because I'm happy that we finally got a portable Mario Strikers game, but the lack of content and sameness of everything is what kills the replayability for me. I loved running through the Striker Cup with different captains and sidekicks. Between different captain abilities, different sidekick skill shots, different stages with unique gimmicks, all that fun text blurbs detailing how your team is doing, each run felt more unique. Something even as dumb as going to an enemy matches and seeing how their stats gave my brother and I more enjoyment than it should have. It's also fun just going to the Hall of Fame. This will detail how many goals for and against your team had if you won the Golden Foot or the Brick Wall Awards. If your team wins the cup, your team composition will be displayed. I just don't feel compelled to run through these cups more than once. The only tangible reward are coins, and after the first time, the amount of coins earned goes down significantly. I get that the replayability went right into online play, but I think I was just burned from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Ultimate. For me, that game ran like complete shit. Sure, there were a few lag-free online matches, but most of them were borderline unplayable. I can't see fast-paced games being fun on Nintendo's online service, I just can't. I'm leaning towards a 5 out of 7 because I genuinely enjoyed my time with it, but there just is not much here. If one has the money but limited on time, I consider this a decent purchase because that main gameplay, it's just a lot of fun. Outside the main gameplay though... Before I leave, why does everyone hate this game? One main reason is that people are tired of this release and now finish it later approach. This happened with Mario Tennis Aces, Mario Golf Super Rush, and Nintendo Switch Sports. People will buy these games right away because of FOMO, fear of missing out, then get burned by the lack of content. First impressions are important, and many will simply not care that they doubled the roster a year later. They had their time with the game, didn't enjoy it that much, and then moved on. The second big reason is, and this one hurts, but it's the fact that Next Level Games developed it. This is the same company that developed the fan-favorite Mario Strikers Charge, as well as the original Strikers. More recently, they developed Luigi's Mansion 3, which is one of my favorite Switch games. If I had to guess, Nintendo rushed Next Level Games to get this game out the door. You can tell by the animations and core gameplay that they care about this series, but Nintendo just wanted it released to have a major game in June. People though, the passionate development team behind Battle League, only head and shoulders above the other sports games on Switch. As I said before, I still like the game, but I wouldn't call it any more than good. It's a shame because I love Strikers Charge. The game encouraged my brother and I to run through Strikers Charge again, but pick a different team. A new game should encourage you to play it, not play a former entry. Besides, fun multiplayer games with a large amount of content are abundant on Switch. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Party Superstars. Battle League will probably be forgotten about soon, it's just gonna get lost in the shuffle. I'll stick to my 5 out of 7 rating for now, because overall, I did have some fun with the game despite its glaring flaws.